Now let's see connection termination. Connection termination means we want the client and server, they are done with the communication and they want to close the connection. So how does it work is, I'm just starting wherever I left this. I'm just using this diagram, and from this whatever sequence numbers are remaining, I'm continuing this diagram. So I told you that TCP is a full duplex connection. Full duplex means if there is client and server, data will go in both the directions. Data can go from client to server as well as data can come from server to client. Therefore it is a full duplex connection. So terminating a connection is terminating this as well as terminating this, right? So both of them have to happen. Now let's see how it happens. Assume that client is done with sending the data and now client wants to close the connection. Client is done with sending the data and client wants to close the connection. Just see what is the sequence number available next for the client. It has used from 622 to 721. Therefore, what is the next sequence number available at the client side? 722. Therefore, on this packet, sequence number will be 722. And on this one, it should always contain ACK equal to 1. And what should be the acknowledgement number? What is it expecting from the other side? From the other side, we got till 2200. So we didn't acknowledge that one. So here itself, acknowledgement has to be sent. Let us say we already sent the pure acknowledgement. Pure acknowledgement. Previously I forgot to send this pure acknowledgement. And in this pure acknowledgement, what should be sequence number? Sequence number available is 722 and it is acknowledgement, and the acknowledgement number is, how much is the acknowledgement? 2201. Why? We got till 2200, therefore the next sequence number is, next byte expected is 2201. Now what is the acknowledgement number? Again 2201 only, because after that we didn't receive anything. So what happened? We are using the sequence number 722 because that is where we left out. So last sequence number actually sent is 721. Therefore next sequence number which is available is 722. And after that 722, the next sequence number available is 722. After that a pure acknowledgement is sent. Even though that acknowledgement packet is carrying 722, it is not yet consumed. The reason is pure acknowledgements don't consume any sequence numbers, right? So in this one we are sending fin equal to 1. Fin means finish flag. It is used to terminate the connection, right? So whenever I send this packet, then what happens is client is saying this server that I don't have any packets to send, therefore you please free up the resources. Connection establishment means allocate the resources, and connection termination means free up the resources. In C language, how it will be implemented is, whenever connection is established, there will be malloc. Malloc means memory allocation, and whenever connection is terminated, there will be free call. Free means release the buffers, right? So here connection see, many people misunderstand this to be connection establishment means wired connection and connectionless means wireless. That is wrong. And connection termination is definitely not cutting the wires with any scissors. That is wrong. Okay, connection termination means we are actually trying to free up the buffers here. Now what happens is, whenever you are sending fin, you are saying the server that please free up this buffer. That is what you are saying. So buffers will be freed up. Now after freeing up the buffer, server will say yes, I freed up. For that, server will send the acknowledgement. It will send sequence number with, what is the sequence number that the server is next having? It has used till 2200. So what is the next sequence number available? 2201, and it will contain the acknowledgement. Therefore ACK equal to 1. What is the acknowledgement number? Acknowledgement number on this packet will be, so what is that you have sent? 722, and I told you that fin packet will take up one sequence number. Remember it? SYN will take one sequence number, fin will take one sequence number, and data will take one sequence number. Pure acknowledgement will take 0 sequence numbers, right? Therefore 722 is already sent, and we assume that 722 is consumed. Therefore, what is the next sequence number available? 723. That is the meaning of it. So once you get this, it means that connection is terminated. From client to server, only one way. It is a full duplex connection, only one way connection is terminated, which means now client cannot send any data. So let's see the questions which are possible. After client has terminated the connection, which means after client has sent the FIN packet, what are the events that are possible and what are the events that are not possible? Can data be sent from client to server? Buffers are not present there, therefore data cannot be sent. It is not possible. Can data be sent from server to client, which means from here to here, can data be sent? Yes. The reason is server to client, data can be sent. The reason is the other side connection is still open, which means the buffer set client is still present. Therefore, data can be sent from server to client. Can acknowledgements be sent? Acknowledgements be sent from client to server? Yes or no? So can I send the acknowledgement from here to here? Which means I don't have buffers here, but can I send acknowledgements? Acknowledgements can be sent because acknowledgement doesn't contain any data, therefore you don't need any buffers to store it, and acknowledgements are mandatory because when you are sending the when you are getting the data from the other side, you are supposed to send the acknowledgements. Therefore acknowledgements have to be sent, which are pure acknowledgements. Whenever you get any data from the server, you cannot send the data back, but then you have to send the acknowledgement. Otherwise what happens is there will be a timeout at the other side, right? Can acknowledgements be sent from server to client? Can server send the acknowledgement to client? Not required. The reason is you are not getting any data from other side, then why should you send the acknowledgement? Therefore not required, but then you will send some acknowledgement. The reason is piggybacking acknowledgements are always used, isn't it? Therefore acknowledgements are sent which are piggybacked. In this case acknowledgements are sent which are pure. Piggybacking means whenever this data is sent from server to client, on that data we are putting the acknowledgement. Therefore it is possible, right? So this is nothing but connection termination, terminating the connection one side. Then what happens is after this connection is terminated, if server wants to send some data to client, it can still send it. It can still send it, no problem. But then if it doesn't have any data to send, it can also terminate the connection. At this point only it can send fin equal to 1 and with the acknowledgement it will be closed, or just for the sake of explanation I am taking it separately. You could have actually closed the connection here itself. Which connection? Server to client, by sending fin equal to 1 on this acknowledgement, no problem. But then I just want to do it separately so that it will be clear for you. Okay. So now if the client server wants to close the connection, what it will send is, it will send a packet. On that packet what will be sequence number? What is the sequence number available next at the server side? 2201, and it should always contain acknowledgement number, right? What is the acknowledgement number that should be present on this? What is the acknowledgement number that it is expecting next? 723. Therefore acknowledgement number is 723 only. The reason is here. And on this one it will send fin equal to 1, which means I too want to close the connection. Then what will client do? Client will free up the buffer. That is how the connection is terminated, right? And client will say yes, I terminated. Therefore client will send a packet. It is not required, but still. So what will be the sequence number on the packet? What is the next sequence number available? 723. Why? 722 is over, right? Therefore 723, and it will send an acknowledgement. What is the acknowledgement number? We have sent, the server has sent 2201. Therefore what is the next byte sequence number? It is consumed. FIN packet will always consume the sequence number. Therefore what is the next byte sequence number available? 2202. That is what we expect. So that is the acknowledgement. So by sending this, connection will be terminated. This is called connection termination, which requires 4 packets. Connection establishment requires 3 packets, and then data transfer, and in worst case connection termination requires 4 packets. Or if you want to do it in a better way, what you could do is, on the last packet whichever you are sending, here itself you could send fin equal to 1 if the client wants to send the close the connection. In the lost packet itself, you can send fin, which means you want to close the connection, and on the return packet, the acknowledgement packet, server can send fin, which means it also wants to close the connection, and finally you can send a acknowledgement. In 3 packets also you can close it, but then in worst case we require 4 packets. Therefore 3 packets are for connection establishment, 4 packets are required for the connection termination, and then more packets are required for the data transfer. This is how connection is managed. This is called as connection management in TCP. It contains 3 phases: establishment, data transfer, termination. Therefore fin flag is used for termination. So we have seen about 3 flags. One is SYN flag, one is ACK flag, and other is fin flag, right? This is all about it. So in the process of connection management, we have seen that we are using mainly 3 flags. One flag is SYN flag, other flag is ACK flag, and other one is fin. Now let's you can write down about these 3. So one is SYN flag, synchronization flag. Why is this used? This is used for synchronizing the sequence numbers. Synchronizing sequence numbers. So what do you mean by synchronizing sequence numbers is both these sides will have different sequence numbers, and they start with a random initial sequence number, and before anything could start you should say the other side what is the sequence number that you are expecting. What is the sequence number that they should expect from your side, and the other side should also say what is the sequence number that you should expect from their side. So just letting both the sides know what is your random initial sequence number is done by using SYN flag. And then next one is ACK flag. This is used because previously what used to happen is, even though we have this acknowledgement flag, acknowledgement field, see there are 2 things, one is acknowledgement field and other is acknowledgement flag. The third row, I think if you look at the third row is acknowledgement number. That acknowledgement number field is always present on every packet, but then every packet need not carry the acknowledgement. Therefore this ACK flag will indicate whether the acknowledgement flag is acknowledgement number field is containing the acknowledgement or not, which means if ACK, this flag is used to indicate, this will indicate whether this acknowledgement number field is valid or not. It need not be valid all the time, right? So it may be, which means all the packets may not contain, or all the packets need not contain the acknowledgement number. So this is going to indicate that. And next one is fin flag. This fin flag is nothing but it is a request for connection termination. So whenever you want to terminate the connection, you are going to send a packet with fin equal to 1. It is request for connection termination. So what is connection termination? Freeing up the resources. What is connection establishment? Resolving the resources. So these 3 flags we have seen. Okay.